Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. I have no idea if this stream is working. It looks like it's working. It says I've got 2 viewers on YouTube, so it might be working. But I was kicked off the Rumble Studio this morning in a weird turn of events, and so I'm not able to live stream across my usual channels. So it's very, very odd. I've got a ticket out with the Rumble Studio people, but it's weird when you wake up and you set up your whole show and then you can't access the internet. I am able to stream through restream.io, but this is not ideal because it doesn't have as many termination points. But this will do for today, I guess, but it's very, very, very strange. So we'll just start the show. I'm recording, so I'm going to upload to the usual places that I upload, but something's afoot, something is different, something's changed. Or there's a problem with Rumble Studio and I'll be back to normal tomorrow. Anyway, C9 has no provisions for Christians. The hate protected is against Islamophobia or other phobias, anti-Semitism, anti-trans, anti-whatever you want, LGBT, but not anti-Christian behavior. And so that's a very, very strange thing to leave out, as so many Christian churches have been burned. Very, very weird. Very strange. Trump is making deals with Pfizer and all of the pharmaceutical companies. That seems strange. Why would he do that? I don't like it, and I'll show you that. And then there's another Trump thing that I do like that I thought was kind of funny, and I'll show you that. And I think it has to do with sombreros. But anyway, Polyev pivots away from the ostriches. Somebody asks him specifically about the ostriches, and he will not answer. And I'm not surprised because he's kind of a snake like that. Canada is 100% focused on Ukraine. What? Chrystia Freeland is saying Canada needs Ukraine, and I don't see how. I think they need our money. We don't need them. What are they giving us? Blanchett says he'll vote for the budget. He will not vote for the budget in November. I've got says he'll vote for it, but he says he won't vote for it. And the reason he says he won't vote for it is because he says it's insane. But the NDP are going to vote for it. And so it seems like we are destined to continue destroying ourselves and allowing these people to destroy us. And Mark Carney has a massive conflict of interest. There are huge red flags everywhere about this government. And Polyev is not serious about addressing any of it. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we have to deal with Mark Carney's conflict of interest. So, holy cow, says Mark Nixon. Mark Carney has been caught. The man running Canada handpicked Brookfield's cash machines, is still tied to their payouts, pretends that it's a blind trust, and 99% of decisions escape conflict rules. Canada isn't being governed, it's being looted. I don't disagree, I don't think. Here is this exchange. It's a bit of a long one. We're not going to watch all of it, I don't think, but it's 3 minutes, and we'll just watch some of it. Here we go.
Sir, I sense your frustration, and in the interest of time, I'm going to ask you some quick questions, if that's okay, for some clarity. You've raised a lot here. When Prime Minister Carney set up his blind trust, he knew exactly what went in it, correct? And it's unlikely the assets that went into the blind trust in such a short period of time have changed significantly, correct?
Ethics Commissioner von Finkenstein acknowledged that most trustees will not change the holdings. So I agree with that. They won't. And even if they did, they're going to be investing in big businesses in Canada, and you're going to know they're investing in big business Canada. I mean, we have conglomerates of industry sectors that are dominated by big businesses, and you're going to be invested in them because that's what everyone invests in Canada.
I spent some time in the investment world before I put my name on a ballot. He co-led efforts to raise billions of dollars of capital for these funds, correct? Yes. Okay. Now, the holdings in these funds have not been disclosed to the public, correct?
That's right. Not all the details.
That's remarkable. But the Prime Minister, he knows what's in them, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now let me just try and get a sense of this. This isn't some sort of middle-class holdings. These aren't modest savings of somebody who is making their way through the world. These are millions of dollars to our best estimation, correct?
Yes, according to the best estimate of including the value of the stock options.
And would you say the Prime Minister is entitled to future carried interest payments based on the performance of those funds, correct?
I wouldn't say the infamous phrase that he's entitled to his entitlements, but yes, he is entitled to that and to the value of the stock options when they eventually mature in 2033, 2034.
It's a remarkable throwback. I appreciate that very much, sir. Let me ask this. In New York, when the Prime Minister was there just last week, he met with a variety of investment managers, all who are implicated in funds that he holds. That places him in a pretty precarious position of conflict, correct?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
if it's highly likely that Mark Carney's Liberal government has made or will make public policy decisions that will impact the success of the holdings in these funds, Canada is at risk of entering a massive conflict of interest scenario, correct?
Canada's policymaking process, yes, because of the central role of the Prime Minister, who is the boss over all policymaking processes in the end.
So, Mr. Conacher, shouldn't the Prime Minister be absolutely required to disclose the assets that exist within these funds?
Yes, there should be full disclosure, but it adds a bit of transparency, but it doesn't resolve the conflict of interest. Transparency is transparency, and removing a conflict of interest is removing a conflict of interest. The one does not do the other.
There you go. So transparency will let us know about the conflict of interest, but it won't remove it, right? We have to do that. And so people are telling me that the stream is working. It looks like it's frozen for me, but I'm glad to hear that it is working. So we're going to carry on, and I'm going to do this as if it's normal. Michael Cooper is talking about the same thing, but I'll just read his. He says, ethics investigation reveals Mark Carney is hiding his investments that may result in future bonus pay worth tens of millions of dollars maturing in 2033. Can you imagine doing a job now and guaranteeing you're going to have tens of millions of dollars in 2033 just because your investments are going to mature in the company that you're not working for anymore? Crazy wild, right? Carney refuses to disclose the assets in his fund he set up with Brookfield. Secret investments, secret profits. Not for Canadians to know, right? And our budget, not for Canadians to know either. Our budget is not up for, we're not to be informed of really anything. The $100 billion deficit changed to 68 billion, 69 billion, something like that. And here's Blanchette, and he says, I'm not going to say whether I'm going to support this budget or not support it before I know what's in it, but probably not. So he says, he takes a minute and a half to say it. Here we go.
On the budget, how are pre-budget consultations going with the government?
There's none. The government did some private pre-budget consultations. And like in anything else, they will decide privately in the PMO what will be in the budget, and Mr. Champagne will say, okay, I will convey that to the population. But there was none. And they don't want to do a budget in the spring. So they don't want to speak to anybody about what they intend to do, and they will face Canadians and Quebecers with an unbelievable deficit, which looks like madness. So there is no consultations, and there will be no legitimacy to this budget.
So because of that, do you feel like you can't support it no matter what's in it?
I
now?
will see what's in it before I support it or not. But, as I said, I don't see how. I cannot see how we could support a budget which is first based on some taxes reductions, electoral gifts, and some fantasies in many regards. I cannot support that. I don't see how we could support that. And one has to calculate what will be the cost of the debt of the federal government year after year. So far, I believe that there will be, and they should take note of it, 22 MPs from the Bloc Québécois that will vote no.
So he says, I don't know what we're going to do, but probably going to vote no. But the Liberals have 168 seats. Very, very close to a majority. A majority is 172, I think. And do the NDP have enough to push them over? Is it a balance of power? Yes. Will the NDP push them over? Will they Jagmeet Singh themselves? Yes. Yes. That's exactly what's going to happen. I would bet my left something or other on it, right? Like, what do you bet?
May said she's meeting with the Prime Minister to discuss the budget. Do you have any meetings with the Prime Minister to discuss the budget?
I'll be meeting with the Prime Minister today, but there's been no firm agenda as to what that meeting's about yet.
The NDP.
I could guess. Hey, you guys going to support our budget? We'll give you X, Y, Z if you support the budget. And then if he walks out, then without supporting the budget, then they'll give him more. They're going to have a dancing partner to pass this budget. It doesn't matter that the NDP were completely destroyed with this strategy the last time that they did it with Jagmeet Singh, it doesn't matter because these guys aren't in charge. These guys are in their position because they're yes men who will do what their puppet masters tell them to do. Somebody's going to make a phone call. They're going to talk to this guy. They're going to say, you're going to support Mark Carney's budget whenever it comes up for vote. And that's it. That's the end of it. And his job is acting. His job is to make it look good, is to sell it to people. Well, sell it to low information voters because he's not going to sell it to me because I see what's going on. But he doesn't work for us. He works for somebody else. And the die is cast. Look at England. Okay. The only way to break out of this is not to beg to this guy's moral compass because he doesn't have one. Not to beg this guy to listen to his constituents because the only person that matters is the guy on the other side of that phone call that he got. Okay. So is this going to happen? Yeah, it damn well looks like it. So who's going to support the budget? Oh, let's look into my crystal ball. I think it's going to be the NDP.
Yes, he did.
Anybody didn't say what it was about?
Not in any particular detail, no.
Is it just with you or opposition leaders?
It's just with me.
Why would he want a meeting with you?
Well, you'd have to ask him that, I guess. But
Didn't you say, what do you want to meet me about?
well, we are in a minority parliament, and this government can't get anything passed unless it has the support of one of three parties. And I've said from the beginning, New Democrats may be reduced in number, but we still constitute a balance of power. And if this government wants to get any progressive legislation passed, at some point they're going to have to count on New Democrat votes. I also think it's just good practice in a minority parliament, frankly in a majority parliament, for leaders to talk to one another and have open lines of communication.
You must have a shopping list.
No, we don't have any shopping list. I think I've been very clear since I was appointed leader that we're here to do one thing, and that is to advocate for working people across this country and to press for policies that will bring real relief to working families across the country. There's no secret about that.
Yeah, well, they haven't done that. They have done the opposite of that. They've crushed working people in this country, and they've allowed the Liberals to crush working people in this country. And if he wants to work for working people in this country, he should pull his head out of his ass and start looking around. Sharon Stubbs says, breaking, Liberals block an NDP vote against Conservative motion to cut taxes on groceries to lower sky-high grocery prices so Canadians can afford to feed their families. So this guy says in one breath, we want to help working families and advocate for working families, no secret there. And then given the opportunity to do that by lowering food prices via lowering taxes on food, they don't. They vote with the Liberals to continue the high prices. Is it ideological? Is it because they don't want to give the Conservatives a win in the House of Commons? I have no idea, but these people, these NDP, do not represent working people by any stretch of the imagination. They work for somebody else, not constituents, not the citizens of this country. The Liberals, back to Sharon Stubbs' tweet, she says, the Liberals have voted to keep grocery prices high, even though according to the Daily Bread Food Bank, this year millions of Canadians will turn to a food bank. The Prime Minister said Canadians would judge him by the cost at the grocery store. Well, Canadians have judged, and he gets a failing grade. Yeah. Like there isn't anything that Carney's done that's been even remotely good at all. And I never expected him to. He is an installed globalist. He didn't win an election. He got installed. And again, the sooner we actually discuss the realities of our situation, the better, because then we'll actually be dealing with the reality of the situation. We can pretend that nothing bad and weird is going on and carry on being thieved from, or we can stand up and say, this looks really weird and we're going to stop all this now until we can get an accounting of what the hell's going on here, and not from you people, right? Like, we should stop this. We should stop this. It's our responsibility to stop this, but we won't because we don't know how. Ron MacLean. And if we did know how, the government would use the War Measures Act against us and say that we're insurrectionists or something like that, because they've already done that. They've already showed their hand. They're already terrified that we're going to do something like that. The truckers scared the hell out of them. Ross McLean is responding to the Toronto Star, and the Toronto Star says Ontario is facing a $2 billion funding shortfall for childcare, putting $10 a day program at risk, Auditor General says. Shocking. I'm shocked that the Liberals don't know how to manage anything, and the program that sounds good in a soundbite didn't work on paper. Oh my gosh. Here I am, shocked. Not really. Ross McLean says, wow, I mean, who could have foreseen that $10 a day daycare would be a boondoggle when it was proclaimed? Right. So years later, we're finding out that, oh, they can't deliver. And yet we're supposed to give them more time to deliver on all of this stuff, right? Oh yeah, the NDP are going to support the Liberals because we're going to deliver for working families, like that $10 a day daycare. Bullshit, you liars. And that's all it is. They're just lying, and they damn well know they're lying. They're lying to you to sell you a product they also know they can't and won't deliver, have no intention of delivering. Oh, we're going to work for workers of the country. Yeah, slaves? Do you mean slaves? He means slaves. Dan Albus says shipbuilding means jobs, training, pride. We Build BC knows it. So did BC Ferries and the BC government. C-SPAN's report showed Canadian yards could have built the ships. As Czech News reported below, everyone knew. But BC Ferries chose to go with state-owned shipyard in China, brought in by the Carney government, or brought in the Carney government bank to send $1 billion offshore instead of supporting Canadian workers. They have not released this report and their internal response to it in what appears to be a violation of the House Committee order to produce documents. Who are they protecting? Everybody. Dan Albus is replying to his own thing. They lied to us again. Local shipyards could have built at least some of the BC Ferries new ships right here at home instead of in China. That's a conclusion of a previously unseen report obtained by Czech News that was given to the provincial government 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And nobody cares because they want to push their ideology and their bad policies for the people who are controlling them. Because, again, I don't think it's their constituents. Not even a little tiny bit. Harmon says, a leaked report shows BC Ferry ships could have been built here in BC. That means thousands of paychecks and over $1 billion into our economy. Instead, the NDP sent the work to a Chinese state shipyard. Hardworking people in this province are tired of watching good jobs shipped overseas. It's time to build out our ferries in BC for BC. So there you go. Isn't that anti-Semitic or something? I'm not sure. In BC for BC? I don't know. That's some kind of ism or phobia. National Post, this is just grab bag of governance. And National Post is reporting WestJet seats in economy will no longer recline to preserve personal space. Yes, you don't get to lean back at all. And your knees will, yes, go into the seat in front of you, but you won't feel claustrophobic or something. What? This is an insane idea that will not, well, I mean, apparently actually what they're doing is they're adding just another row of seats. So they're adding 12 seats, or what is this, 6 seats, 5 seats, or no, more than that. So it's 323, whatever it is. So 9 seats, and that's worth it. No more reclining for you on the plane. Have you been on a plane? Reclining is kind of necessary sometimes. The food professor says, if Australian beef, this is a quote from an episode of his food podcast thing, and he says, if Australian beef is selling for less in Canada than it does in Australia, something is clearly off. Why isn't Ottawa investigating potential dumping practices to safeguard Canada's beef industry? Why aren't they indeed? And we are in a situation on one side where food professor was saying, oh, we had this Australian steak and it was delicious and I loved it and nom, 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 the whole deal. And then on the other side, he was saying, hold on a second, somebody's taking advantage. He thinks the Packers are taking advantage somehow, but I don't know how. I can't explain how. So I don't know. Let's talk about free speech. How much time do we have? Oh man, 18 minutes. We got some time. Free speech. Lindsay Shepherd, and you know Lindsay Shepherd as she was embroiled in the, Wilfrid Laurier University, and she was a teacher's assistant, and she brought in counterpoints to discuss in class, and her counterpoints landed her in trouble, and it was a witch hunt, and she's kind of been in the public eye or whatever since then. And I didn't know this, but I guess she was working for the BC Conservatives, and she got fired because of a tweet. And so she says, today, BC Conservative leader John Rustad fired me for my position as comms officer with the Conservative Party of British Columbia caucus. It was because of this tweet. I am a mother of 2 young children, and I'm 32 weeks pregnant. I was about to go on maternity leave. More to come. This is the tweet. The orange shirt and the orange flag perpetuate untruths about Canadian history, such as the grandest lie of all that 215 children's graves were unearthed in Kamloops. It is a disgrace that this fake flag flies in front of the provincial parliament buildings, and it is a disgrace to see the shirt of lies framed prominently and permanently beside the coat of arms so that locals and tourists cannot view our insignia without having their eye drawn and redirected to the orange shirt. Yep, pretty wild stuff. I had been an elected board member within the party since 2022. It's very sad that it ended up this way. Yeah, pretty wild stuff. John Rustad is not a conservative, but neither are the BC Conservatives. So Weird. Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms is talking about Bill C-8. Ottawa's new internet censorship bill, C-8, is raising alarms. This column breaks down what's at stake for Canadians' free speech, and it just breaks it down a little bit. I muted that. I muted that notification. It shouldn't have, on this computer, it shouldn't be coming through. Top story says, in spite of multiple international statements framing internet access as a human right, the Liberal government is pursuing legislation that would allow them to unilaterally quarantine Canadian citizens from the online world. Bill C-8, which is now, and just this morning, I can't access Rumble Studio. And is that isolating me from the online world? Slowly, if tomorrow I can't access Restream and I can't access Rumble Studio, we'll know what's going on. Anyway, regardless, Bill C-8, which is now undergoing second reading in the House of Commons, includes a provision under which Ottawa can pull internet services from any specified person. The denial of service would require only the personal order of the Minister of Industry, a position currently filled by Mel Joly, in consultation with the Public Safety Minister, a position currently filled by Gary Anasangri. Bill C-8 would do this by amending the Telecommunications Act with a clause requiring the telecom providers, such as Rogers or TELUS, to pull internet service of any individual customers singled out by Ottawa. As the text, how would you do individual customers singled out by Ottawa? So like if somebody else owns the internet at my house, I can still log in, but if they know that it's my Gmail, like shut it down, right? Like digital ID is necessary for this kind of legislation, everybody. This does not happen. They can't target me in my house on my internet, right? They can't do that yet. They want to. As the text states, the industry minister would be allowed to prohibit the telecommunications service provider from providing any services to any specified person. None of this would require a warrant, and oversight only kicks in after the order is made. Once a minister has ordered the internet of a specified person to be cut off, only then can a federal court subject the decision to judicial review. Bill C-8 has been pitched by the Carney government as a way to combat unprecedented cyber threats. In the House of Commons last week, Anasangri, the public safety minister, defended Bill C-8 as a means to crack down on hackers and ransomware fraudsters. Malicious cyber actors are breaching our country's IT system, accessing sensitive information, and putting lives in danger. In danger, really. Anasangri added that hostile state actors are stealing information and gaining access to systems that are critical to our national security and public safety. As to why federal ministers would need the power to deny internet service to specific individuals, Bill C-8 states simply that it might be, quote, necessary to do so to secure the Canadian telecommunications system against any threat, including that of interference, manipulation, disruption, or degradation. Critics of Bill C-8 have mostly pointed to how it gives the federal government massive new powers to collect internet data without a warrant and without the target even being aware that they're under surveillance. Bill C-8 would empower the federal government to secretly order telecom providers to do anything or refrain from doing anything, with no limits that would prevent such orders from being used to impose surveillance obligations on private companies. To weaken encryption standards, reads a critique published last week by the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. Bill C-8 comes despite a long track record of Liberal government statements slamming government controls on internet access, deeming them an active threat to human rights. Yep, sure are, right? It is not a good bill for us. Here's C9 and here's Leslyn Lewis speaking about her concerns on C9.
With my first objection to Bill C9, I find it quite perplexing that Christian hate was not even mentioned in the bill. In recent years, we have seen alarming hate-motivated attacks, including burning and vandalism of churches across Canada. Just last week, a century-old Ukrainian Orthodox church in Edmonton was burned to the ground. As we witness the record number of sacred spaces being destroyed, Christians have noticed the government's silence. Congregations have been left in fear, and people of faith feeling abandoned by their government's lack of enforcement of existing laws. In this context, it is shocking that a bill about combating hate is completely silent on the rise of Christian hate. The government's press release mentions anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, and transphobia, yet it makes no mention of the rise of hate crimes towards Christians. This bill does not add new protections for worshipers. Instead, it expands state powers by removing the legal safeguards and watering down the definition of hate speech.
I'll just leave it there. She continues on for another minute, but I want to keep going, and I've got to cut off the stream because, you know, things like that that's what we have to do. But if you want to get the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. And I genuinely don't know, like Spotify sometimes has problems, people signing up. I've had more reports recently, like the last couple of days, people signing up having issues with being able to pay, etc. I've heard that if you call your bank and say that, yes, you do want to have this thing go through, then the block gets removed, but it's at bank level. And that's weird, right? They do the same thing with cryptocurrency purchases. If you want to buy cryptocurrency or move money into ShakePay, something like that, then they block it, and then you have to call them, and then they say, this is, you know, they give you a spiel. There's a little, there is a whole script they have to read. And you can hear them reading lines. And I was like, listen, dude, like, just give me my money. Anyway, that's enough out of me for the stream. So thanks for watching, everybody. Head over to CanadaPoly.com. But if not, that's no problem. We'll catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, oh no, this is a totally different stream. I don't know how.